Cox Show. Follow Mark on Twitter at MarkCox971.
Glad you're back with us. As promised, we've gotten a few minutes with Catherine Herridge from the Fox News Channel. Catherine, good afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate you giving me some time today. I watched one of your reports on Fox earlier today regarding these House subpoenas, I believe. This has caused a bit of a row in Congress, huh?
Well, yes and no. The Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee, their chairman has excused himself from the Russia investigation over alleged ethics violations and his contact with the White House over some intelligence documents. That's a simple way to explain it. But he has not given up his responsibilities for other matters on the committee. And it's in that capacity that he has issued subpoenas for three former Obama administration officials, and to what extent they asked for Americans to be identified, so people within the Trump team in these intelligence reports. What may be sort of lost in translation here is that my contacts say the Democrats on the committee were told the subpoenas were going forward. They were told in person, in writing, and via email. The Republicans on the committee, because they're in the majority, don't have to have approval from the Democrats to do it.
Okay.
So, it's I don't want to say it's like a tempest in a teapot, so to speak, but, when you're in charge and you've got sort of you're the big dog on the committee, you can issue these subpoenas and you tell the party in the minority that this is what you're doing. They don't get an opportunity to block it. So that's, I think, kind of what's going on here, because understanding to what extent members of the outgoing administration were identifying members of the Trump team in intelligence reports is obviously of a lot of significance, especially when two of the individuals, the former National Security Advisor Susan Rice and then the UN Ambassador Samantha Power, they're not in jobs where they're investigators or intelligence analysts. So you have to question under what authority they were asking for this information to be unmasked, and is it because they had a genuine intelligence interest, or was it politically motivated? And that's really what the committee's trying to get to.
I heard James Woolsey pose that same question in an interview that Fox ran with him earlier. So you're reporting, and I see that NBC is reporting as well, that Democrats were informed and consulted beforehand in accordance
Correct.
with committee rules, but there are still some Democrats that have come out and claimed that they weren't consulted on the unmasking subpoenas.
I mean, the way it works is that when they're going to do something like this, they, the parties on a committee like this, they each have their own staff, right?
Right.
The people who do the nuts and bolts of the everyday work. They keep the wheels turning, if you will. So I was told that the staff for the Democrats, they were told in many different forms that these subpoenas were going out to the CIA, NSA, and FBI about the identification or unmasking of Americans in intelligence reports. So in person, via email, and in writing. So I don't know. If they didn't pass it up the chain to everybody, that's kind of a communication thing, because this is just how it works. I don't know what else to say when you're the majority party on the committee, you're the big dog on the committee, and you get to decide whether you're going to issue subpoenas for things. And the minority doesn't really have a say that would ultimately block that or affect the outcome.
We're talking to Catherine Herridge from the Fox News Channel. In terms of investigations of these leaks, maybe the most recently the leak of the information from Manchester, but more directly leaks from the Trump administration, are there any, maybe you don't have any reporting on this, is there any indication that anyone other than Congress is looking into this? I mean, shouldn't that be something the FBI would handle?
Well, I've been really focused on the Russia case and the FBI director who's now going to testify next week in that open public session. And I have not been looking so much at the leak question, but there is a lot of media reporting today that, in fact, the Justice Department is now involved, especially with these leaks that relate to Russia. And they've gotten what are called FISA warrants. These are warrants which allow the intelligence agencies and the FBI to, listen to the conversations of American citizens inside the U.S. So I don't have that independently confirmed, but that would be, if accurate, an indicator that they are proceeding with these leaks.
And what's your reporting saying that James Comey is going to testify to?
Well, I think it's very dangerous territory to speculate as to what the former director is going to say. What I do know from my reporting is that he had direct contact with the special counsel, former FBI director Robert Mueller, and they talked about the scope of the testimony. So what we can expect next week is that there will be some areas that will probably be off limits, and he'll tell the committee they're off limits because it's at the request of the special counsel. The thing to watch is going to be whether the White House makes any effort to invoke executive privilege, because the president has that right, that his conversations with his team are supposed to be private. And I spoke with a former Justice Department official today who said that the president's termination letter of Comey, remember that was made public?
Right.
And it talked about how Comey had reassured him 3 times that he was not the focus of the Russia investigation. That letter, in a funny way, and the president's tweets may have waived some of his executive privilege rights because he's already put that out into the public domain, some of their conversations. I don't want to get too sort of inside baseball, but I think we have to take a wait-and-see approach to next week. And but I'm pretty certain that some areas will be off limits, at least at the request of the special counsel.
And that's coming June 8th, correct?
Yeah, Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday next week.
Next
a week
Thursday.
today.
Catherine Herridge, thanks so much for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Have a great day. Thank
Thanks.
you. Always love to get Catherine on when we can because you're getting reporting directly from the source. So if what she's hearing there is correct, the president might not be able to invoke executive privilege for some of his conversations with Jim Comey. My bigger question is, if Comey is called to testify and he testifies the opposite of something he said a couple of weeks ago when he testified. Specifically, then he made the comment that no one had ever tried to influence him in his investigation of this Russian situation. Where does the word perjury come up? Something here is not right, is all I'm saying. And maybe only James Comey himself can straighten it out. But why would you put a note in a file saying that the president asked if you could bring this Flynn investigation to an end and then turn right around and testify under oath that no one had ever tried to influence the Russian investigation? It obviously can't be both ways. And somebody leaked that there was a memo that said that, which puts Comey in a very interesting position. Did he have a regular habit of lying under oath to make the story whatever he wanted it to be, or not to tell what he didn't want to tell? Or was he telling the truth and he just wrote the memo for a little CYA in case he got fired? These are legitimate questions, and next Thursday, right here, you're going to hear the results of that, because we'll, of course, have full coverage of Jim Comey's testimony and what he says, and I'm certain, you can mark my words, that between now and next Thursday,